It's, I'm feeling truly alive for the first time.
Tonight, on a special ETALK.
That's a good question.
Elliot Page, in his own words.
You said, the unraveling is painful, but it leads you to you.
I have moments where I feel sad, because I'm like, why did this have to take so long? But I'm grateful to be here now.
An intimate conversation about growing up in Halifax and Hollywood, talking inclusivity.
We need to see ourselves reflected.
Forgiveness.
She probably felt like she was protecting me.
And joy.
I'm able to look in the mirror and be like, he's kind of cute, you know? Yeah.
Plus, a very Canadian surprise.
Yes!
This is ETALK Presents Pageboy, the Elliot Page interview.
This chair is so, like, deep.
I was like, when we were setting the set, I was like, because I am not tall.
Neither am I.
Booked and busy. Born in Halifax in 1987, Elliot Page is the Oscar-nominated actor the world knows and loves, from Juno to the Umbrella Academy.
Do you feel loved?
Yeah, I do.
Good. You are.
But Elliot is more than just an actor, showing strength behind the camera as the producer and host of Gaycation, a 2S LGBTQIA+ travel docuseries receiving 2 honors at the Emmys. Speaking out is a through line in his work, co-directing the 2019 documentary There's Something in the Water, exposing environmental racism in his home province of Nova Scotia. But it's on December 1st, 2020, when Elliot changes his world and the world, sharing his transgender identity through a letter on Instagram, writing, "I love that I am trans, and I love that I am queer. To all trans people who deal with harassment, self-loathing, abuse, and the threat of violence every day, I see you, I love you, and I will do everything I can to change this world for the better." And Elliot continues looking inward, reflecting on his transition, self-discovery, and Hollywood connections with Pageboy, his first memoir. Elliot, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
The book, an instant #1 New York Times bestseller.
Hey, Elliot Page here. So I wrote a book called Pageboy.
And now, back here in Toronto, a celebratory time. How do you feel in this moment, on this day?
I mean, to be honest, it's really surreal. Like, I feel just grateful and, quite frankly, like, shocked. You know, like, I love to read, and the fact that this is out in the world and people have had the response that they've had has just been very moving. Wow. Wow, it's real. I just finished signing 1,600 copies of Pageboy. Very, very moving.
Especially since you're sharing so much of yourself in this story. And so, again, we're talking about being here at the celebratory time in Toronto. It's summer in the city.
Yeah.
And in the book and also on Instagram, you had shared that summertime wasn't always the best time for you. You said that the dysphoria used to be especially rife in the summer, and that you never thought you could experience this joy that you feel in your own body. So now, feeling the sun on you, in the summer, and even looking in the mirror. You talk about the mirrors a lot in the book. How is this joy now? How is summertime now for Elliot?
It's the best. Even like yesterday we got in from DC, the last stop in the US book tour, and I was walking with my friend just up through Kensington Market in a t-shirt, and it just like actually doesn't get old. And the difference I feel, and my shoulders back, and just the confidence and feeling embodied in a way that I didn't think possible in the past. I really didn't. I really struggled to see a future. I feel really fortunate that every day I wake up, I mean, I'm a human being. Of course I can have difficult days. It's not like everything's some magical fix to every issue, but I'm feeling truly alive for the first time.
I feel like you've been in my head for the last
little while because I've been reading your book, and your writing is so evocative. And one of the things I think that you wrote about so vividly is shame. And I think that's really important. I really believe that you're gonna help a lot of people with how you describe it and how you talk about moving through it and getting to joy. But you do write about the agony of isolation and how your heart aches for your younger, closeted self. But there was a passage, a sentence that really moved me. You said, "The unraveling is painful, but it leads you to you." I wrote that down, I highlighted it because I think that's so important to remember. So, how does Elliot today take the time to console the person with the strength that he has now?
Oh, sometimes I do get waves of it, or being sort of on this press tour and reflecting back to the past when I was on tours like this, very closeted, not myself, and remembering how I felt in a lot of these spaces, or how I felt when I was alone in the hotel rooms. And the sensation is almost of just like really wanting to hold them tight and give them a hug and tell them that, like, you know who you are, and this shame you're holding and this embarrassment is not yours, it's theirs. And I have moments where I feel sad because I'm like, why did this have to take so long? This shouldn't have had to take so long. But I'm grateful to be here now.
That gratitude and that joy, we can see it on this press tour. And one of the things that really stayed with me in the book was the room that you make for forgiveness. And I'm talking here about your mom. You write that, quote, "People can surprise you." So I just wanted to show you a photo. This is a photo of the two of you.
Oh, yeah. In New York.
In New York,
yeah.
Looking up at the billboard of your book together after a lot of talking, a lot of misunderstanding and re-understanding, which you share.
Yeah.
What does a moment like this mean?
It means the world to me, as does she. And same with her openness and generosity about this book and what I wrote about in the book, and moments that obviously aren't necessarily incredibly flattering about my mom in the past. I'll give an example. A friend who's also trans-masculine, they texted me that their mom read the book in 2 days, and then they had conversations that they never thought they could have before. And to me, my mom's, pardon the pun, transformation, so to speak, and her growth and educating herself, and above all, loving her child, has been so profound for me in my life. And I hope that that journey and that understanding can reach others. Because I understand she was born in 1954 in St. John, New Brunswick, to a minister. I can understand why at certain points she probably felt like she was protecting me. And watching her change the way she has and become the ally and advocate that she has been just so special.
Thank you for sharing that story about your friend and how it's helping other relationships, because I think that what's hard for some people is that they don't feel like there's room to change. And you've made space for that. But at the same time, there's emotional labor to that too, right? So how do you balance wanting to be communicative and understanding and assist and be an ally, but protecting yourself from that kind of heaviness?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm like, how do I? I suppose it's about having like boundaries when boundaries are appropriate. I mean, there's definitely moments when I'm getting asked, questions or asked to educate someone in moments that it doesn't feel appropriate, and I am just trying to go about my day, or I'm at work or living my life, and I think sometimes it's about just gracefully navigating those situations. A lot of the time I recommend books, because there's people that are far more qualified to do that than myself, Then it's the people who actively go seek those out and read or gain that material to then grow and change. I mean, I think that's, the action that an ally should take, to educate themselves.
I think it's really powerful too that you move forward without anger.
Try my best, yeah.
Thank you for saying that you try your best.
Yeah.
Because that's an acknowledgement that it's not always a without anger day.
Of course.
But for the most part, you lead with grace and not anger.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Well, I guess it comes from, we've all had to learn so much in our lives, you know, and been on a journey and had to expand our thinking and what have you, you know, so I have compassion for people, and when I see the anger and the hate that seems to exist from people who support or spread anti-trans rhetoric and hate and lies and misinformation, I'm just like, I would not want to be living in that space every day. Like, what an awful place to be, you know? And for me, the more I step into myself, exist as my authentic self, feel embodied, it's like, I do feel this ripple effect of love. I feel like so much of my anger's gone away, you know? I wish that for everyone. I mean, we have so much more in common than we have different, right? And we're all getting put in boxes with these toxic expectations from society telling us how to be, how to act, how to dress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that does not serve us. And I want everyone to love themselves and get rid of the shame that they're carrying and work through the trauma that they're carrying. I really do wish that for everyone.
I want to talk about the work you're producing, Backspot, for example, starring in Close to You. How has your approach to work changed now?
As an actor, I'm really excited and interested to see just how, you know, performances will manifest, getting to start from myself, you know, going to work every day, feeling embodied, feeling like I'm starting from this grounded foundation.
And Elliot's creative foundation has deep roots too. Launching his career as a child actor with Gemini-nominated work in Pit Pony, his profile grows with scene-stealing turns in Hard Candy, The Traci Fragments, Christopher Nolan's Inception, 2 X-Men films, and of course, the 2007 teen pregnancy comedy, Juno.
I mean, acting did serve, I think, in moments as a way to escape, but then at the end of the day, I was still me in my body. Back in my trailer, I was still me in my body and writhing with a discomfort that I could and couldn't put words to, and felt very trapped, so to speak. And so now going to work, it's a completely different feeling, and the degree of presence, which to me is one of the most important parts of doing the job itself. And just like before, writing the book would have been impossible because there's no way I would have been able to sit down and been comfortable enough to do it, to focus long enough to have that space in my brain and not be occupied by awful thoughts and constant agony, quite frankly. It now feels the same in all these other facets of producing and creating and being able to show up and feel a sense of confidence that I didn't have before.
I'd like to sort of build on that, because in the book you also share that, you know, Juno was a role that you really wanted.
Juno had me hooked from the very first page.
You read the script and you believed that this role was yours, strongly, that little indie movie. And yet, as you just shared, it was a difficult time. So how do you find worth, value, pride, that past work now? Because I loved seeing you on stage with Jennifer Garner and J.K. Simmons at the Oscars, like, right, as a reunion. So but I don't want to disrespect you, but I did love that moment of the three of you at the Oscars.
Yeah.
There were definitely some phrases in there I had not read before. Your ego is prego.
For me, I'm able to separate very much the making of that film and be a part of the experience of making that movie to what came after that.
Okay.
And by after, I mean, obviously the promotional Hollywood machine Oscar campaign period of that film.
Shot on a shoestring $7.5 million budget, Juno, Elliot's little indie, rakes in over $232 million at the box office and earns 4 Oscar nominations, including a win for screenwriter Diablo Cody in 2008. But in his book, Elliot details how he was forced to conceal his queerness as the face of the film, writing, quote, "I was struggling with depression and having panic attacks so bad I would collapse. I was incapable of articulating the depth of pain I was in, especially because my dreams were coming true. I felt too guilty to say I was hurting.
I did connect with that character, and I think my queerness and my transness brought something special to that character in terms of how she presented. And, you know, I literally took a producer to use clothing stores around Vancouver to show like how she was going to dress, like, and a part of that was what made that movie special. And then it was so unfortunate and gross that then that got squashed out when the movie did become the surprise success and profitable as it did. It's another example of Hollywood, you know, taking the elements of queer magic that makes something special and then squashing the moment, you know, they perceive the bottom line might get affected, or whatever the thought process was behind that. Like, what was that all about? I'm able to separate the two, yeah.
If Elliot coming out as trans means that more people from their generation will feel the courage to share their stories, I almost want to cry. It's wonderful.
I feel like you found pockets of safety among friends in Hollywood. You talk about your friends, Catherine Keener, Kristen Wiig. So when we're talking about allyship, how do you feel now in the Hollywood community?
I'm really lucky. I feel like have friends who I've been able to rely on, who've always seen me for me, who've encouraged me to be my authentic self and not bend and twist for a toxic system. I don't know what I would do without them.
And yet at the same time you write about not just the entertainment industry, but all industries and pinkwashing.
Yes.
And how it's on the surface. In today's climate then, what is your vision of what progress looks like?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. Visibility is complicated. We need to see ourselves reflected, and also it leads to backlash, and the most marginalized and vulnerable members in the community are the ones who deal with the brunt of those real-life consequences, 100%. It can't just be like, okay, we put some trans people in front of the camera and now we're good. It's about a whole system that is not inclusive and not reflective of our world, where decisions are being made about what stories are being told. So I hope we see massive shifts in like the fabric of who controls Hollywood.
There are a lot of conversations in the book about presentation of self and expression through clothing. And I want to talk about clothing now. You're wearing a great outfit. I love it.
Thank you.
And I also loved some of the outfits that we've seen you in. Gucci, really good look.
Thank you, Gucci.
Balenciaga, very good look. Another Balenciaga. I actually want these shoes.
Aren't those hilarious? Yeah. Like,
they're so good.
Crazy.
How are you feeling about the clothes?
Now I'm going, oh, I get why people are into this. Whereas in the past,
right, yeah.
I was so dismissive of it naturally, right? Because it was anything even slightly feminine or what have you was just made me writhe in my skin. And now when I'm spoiled and fortunate enough to get dressed in Gucci, I certainly feel good, and, you know, I'm able to look in the mirror and be like, he's kind of cute, you know? Yeah.
Not kind of.
Yeah.
But...
Whereas in the past, I couldn't even like glance at an image, you know, at a photo shoot or something, and now I can look at it.
And on Instagram, sharing photos, and there's traps. Tell me about seeing yourself.
It's undeniably an experience I didn't think I'd ever have, to feel just embodied and confident. And in terms of sharing those photos, like so many cis people do all the time, it's also just about us being reflected in that representation. And it's meant so much to me, you know, trans people who, I mean, are just really existing and being themselves. And that's allowed me to have space to do that, you know, like personally in my own mind and body, and also in regards to my platform and in the world.
Finally, chips come up a lot?
Chips, yes.
Ketchup chips?
Ketchup chips, hell yeah they do.
So, got you something.
What could it possibly be?
It's just the lid just comes off.
Oh, it just comes off, okay. Yes, Covered Bridge from New Brunswick.
We went to so many stores looking for your
that's awesome.
ketchup chips. So
thank you.
Maybe a little taste of East Coast ketchup.
So this is perfect. Thank you so much. That's so sweet and thoughtful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing this. I've written a memoir too, and it's not easy. And your writing is really, really powerful. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your support and wanting to talk about it. Oh, that was great. Thank you so much. Yes.